Please note that this meeting will be live streamed. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? None. Public hearings, there are none. Delegations, none. Question period concerning the agenda.
Good evening, Mayor Beach, fellow councilors, or councilors, I mean. I'm Richard Ellis, I'm a resident of Espanola. I just have one question, and it pertains to an item under a staff report and under the formation of a fire hall subcommittee. It was submitted by GP Corp and, excuse me, and approved by our CAO. What I'd like to know is, it says in here, unless there are decisions made to come to a resolution about what needs to be done with the fire hall in the near future, residents could see a dramatic increase to their insurance rates. Where does that information come from?
I don't believe we have it all yet, but it will come from the insurance company if they want to do that.
If they want to do what?
Raise the insurance rates. Councillor Bob.
Comes from the underwriters for the town to set the rates, so we're all for the town, and they insist that we have, every community has at least one truck less than 20 years old.
That's
And if you don't have that, then your rates are subject to being considered to be increased.
I understand that.
Okay, that's the reason. That would be the reason for an increase in your rates.
What needs to be done with the fire hall?
That's not part of it.
Well, that's what it says here. In the near future, residents could see a dramatic increase in their,
That's referring to the fire truck,
not the fire hall.
not the fire hall.
But this is in the minutes and approved, so just so you are aware.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
It's on the of English.
All right, part one, consent agenda.
Okay, part one of the consent agenda, moved by Councillor Ray Dupuis, seconded by Councillor...
Excuse me, Your Honor? I'd like to sever. B2.
B2.
B2, yeah.
And I would like to also sever D1.
D1.
And when the time comes, Your Worship, I have a question for E2. If you wish to sever it, that's
Question
fine.
for D2.
Yeah, just E2.
Oh, E2.
Yes, Edward 2.
Is that just a clarification?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we won't have to sever,
Right.
it's just a clarification. Okay. I'm just amending the resolution.
Okay.
And I'll also need a clarification on F4.
On which?
F4.
Okay, so we were severing item B2 and item...
D1?
Okay, so, Council, can we get the initial, the changes?
Ray and this is Ron.
Okay, moved by Councillor Ray Dufour, seconded by Councillor Ron Ducey. Be resolved that items A1 to F4, excluding items B2 and D1, contained in part 1 consent agenda be adopted.
We'll do them now.
Consent agenda, now we do those in the B section.
Okay, under the A section, is there any questions or comments? Under the B section, B1, any questions or comments there? E1, under the E section, E1, Questions or comments there? And E3, questions or comments there?
E2, it's not severed, it's just a
Oh,
question.
E2, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted clarification on E2 as, for this engineering service. I can't recall what it was for. Does anybody recall?
Phase
E2?
2, phase 2.
It was under, yeah, it was under the phase 2 for the engineering,
Is that the water structure?
Did you want to stand for that? Or you-
I wanted an answer for that.
Okay, so that was for the engineering drawings for, from last summer for, Catherine and that end of town. So what's happened is we've just gotten the contracts to be signed. Council actually, adopted the bylaw, the resolution's been adopted. This is just to adopt the formal agreement for
and
tracking purposes.
I understand that. Could you tell me what it was for? That's
It
what I.
was for the infrastructure on
Engineering.
Catherine,
Elizabeth.
Okay,
Elizabeth.
And
all
in that area.
which-
All the engineering for the
Okay.
water structure.
Like we
Yeah.
did on the net.
The infrastructure, not the
Infrastructure, I'm sorry.
that's right, okay, thank you.
All right, and F1, any questions or comments there except for F4? None?
You jumped E3, Your Worship.
What's that?
I think you jumped E3. He was answering E2 a minute ago.
Good, any questions for that one?
I don't think it was any.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, under, with the Board and Committee Report, B2 Corporate Services Committee meeting of February 6, 2018.
You missed F.
I was at F4, remember I wanted to know
We
something?
didn't do F yet.
Yeah, well, there's a couple that we got to separate here.
No,
Oh,
that,
okay.
is that separated?
Okay, hang on. Items
Four
A,
residents.
items A1 to F4 inclusive contained in
No.
part. Be it resolved.
Just,
Nope, you haven't
You
called
gotta ask what
F.
F, he had a question on F4.
All right, what's F4?
okay, I have a question concerning Lacoste Foothills. It's to do with something that was said there. The building inspection services, the third one that was hired, I see that it's coming up for, his employment's coming up for review. I wanted to know if that, once the CBO and the CAO have an interview with this individual, will that come to council to allow council to vote on whether or not we're gonna continue in the way we've been going, or if we're gonna change it?
There was no reason that I know of to discontinue.
It's not right, but I wanna know if it's coming to council.
Is it coming to council?
No, what's referred to in the minutes is just, as for the agreement with the other municipalities, we would review annually the number of permits and review the allocation percentage in that. So that's what was discussed, and,
Right,
I mean, if there is a change, it will come to council. But
that's what I thought. No, it wouldn't come to council.
employment matters are not subject to,
Well, when your worship, when you're doing, when we indicate an agreement and it says provides for an annual review, that's to make sure that everybody's still happy with what's going on.
Staff is going to do that.
Yeah, and so is council, because council needs to do these things. And I would like to see this come to council for review. That's what I'm saying.
So you want me in management?
No, I want to be a councillor.
All councils
Don't-
don't have to be managers.
Don't answer me like that. All I'm asking you is I'd like to see it come to council.
Councillor Bob?
Could you read that, what you just read again, please?
sorry, I didn't read anything.
Oh, okay, could you repeat what you said?
Yeah, it was just, the matter discussed at the Lacoste Foothills Municipal Association meeting was that as per the terms of the agreement, we would review the allocation based on the number of permits for each municipality on an annual basis.
We're just following the rules of the contract
Yes.
and that we are all aware of, and in order to make sure that each community is paying their proper share for the coming year.
Yes.
That's right. So this is not a question of employment. This is a question of allocation of who's paying what.
Yeah, because there's an agreement in place
That's
with
good.
the other townships.
So it's not employment, anything to do with employment.
No.
It's just the funding.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at, your worship, is that we also have another building official or inspector in town that could easily have done this job as well, along with doing, his other job. I mean, we got 3 inspectors. We got almost 2 too many. It was noted on the KPMG that we required 1.5. We can't hire just a half a man. We have to hire a full 2 people in order to get that 1.5 that we require.
At that time, we had no agreements with the smaller townships either.
I understand that, but that was all part of the arrangement. We were gonna get a contract with the other town, with the other towns, but that never materialized.
No.
And
Excuse me?
it only materialized, excuse me, I'm talking, and it only materialized after the 3rd building inspector.
Go ahead, Councillor Bob.
Did we, maybe you missed the meeting, we had a closed meeting to review the contract with the other municipalities prior to him being hired?
No, I didn't miss no meeting, but that was in camera. That's another thing I shouldn't have been, but that's something entirely different. What I'm saying is I'd like to see it come to council. That's the bottom line. And if you want, I can make a motion towards that.
Go ahead.
Okay, I make a motion that upon this review, it comes to council for verification.
Verification of.
Yeah, to verify whether or not we are gonna continue in the same way that we're going, or are we
Just
gonna change?
rip up the agreement between
Oh, God.
Massey and Baldwin and all of that.
No, I don't think we'd have to do that, your worship, as we are already adequately being provided by a second building inspector that can do this job.
You don't know that for sure.
I do.
No, you don't.
Well, I know there's 8,000 people in 3 towns that I talked to you about that night, and they only have 1 CBO apiece. We got
And how many
4,996.
building inspectors do they have?
1 apiece.
Just one, that's it.
Yes, I brought the information to council that night.
I'm gonna have to talk to Sudbury, they got 21.
Yeah, they got 150,000 people. I'm talking 8,000 people. I don't see an argument here. I really don't. Well, I made the motion. If anybody
Yeah, you
cares
made
to
the
second
motion.
it.
So, do you have a blank motion that council can Can you
That's to say you bring it up to review.
notice a motion if... So if you want this heard tonight, Councilor Dupont, you'll have to move it that it is heard tonight, and then there'll have to be a seconder, and then you'll have to have the same motion.
Okay. I wonder if you could write this fast. Can I get somebody to sign this? Yeah. It's close. Yeah, or thanks.
Okay, so...
Point of information? Is that a notice of motion?
Yes, it's a notice of motion served, yeah. Okay, so we have a notice of motion moved by Councilor Ray Dufour, and it is seconded by Councilor Ron Duplessis. Notice of motion to review the employment of the 3rd building inspector. So obviously Councilor Ray Dufour has moved that this be heard tonight, right, Councilor, am I understanding? So if council votes in favor of this, then we will have a motion on the floor as per his notice of motion.
All in favor?
Excuse me.
And I'll just move this in. So, Thank you. Okay, moved by Councilor Ray Dufour, second by Councilor Ron Ducey. Be it resolved that council review the employment of the third building inspector.
All in favor?
I have a question. Debate.
Oh,
Pardon?
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to know what you want out of that, right? Because before you answer, we'll have to check that agreement in terms of legal.
absolutely,
A
yeah.
document that we can't even touch because we had agreed to that contract whenever we did a year and a half ago or whatever. So that's
Yeah, so we have to
just
look at all that
information.
first. And I mean, and this is why I say review. So we can review it as a council.
You all right, Ken? Okay?
Well, yeah, we don't know the ramifications of it.
Yeah, I don't know,
That's all I'm
that's what I was
We have
trying
to
to
find
stress,
out.
we don't know the ramifications.
I just want to understand what Ray was saying.
We don't know what's all involved in the agreement.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but we should. So I'm sure we're gonna get that.
Well, we already had it when we hired him.
Yeah.
We're going to get it in.
Yes,
So if I could ask for clarification, because the motion reads you want to review his employment. Are you reviewing his employment or are you reviewing the contract with the other municipalities?
which you wish.
Can
Are you
we,
reviewing his appointment or are you reviewing the,
providing on what it says in the contract, okay? I
so
mean,
then we
I'm-
need to do the contract first.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm trying to review what it says, like Councillor Duplessis said, we don't want to overstep our bounds. So all we can do is review the contract, review the situation, and then we can make a determination from that.
Okay?
What,
You got any more questions?
No, but just to make it clear, that contract absolutely did come to this council table.
It did, yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So
Not
I
saying-
didn't get to read it the first time. All in favor? Carried. Okay, be it resolved that excluding items B2 and D1, items A1 to F4 inclusive contained in Part 1 agenda be adopted. All in favor? Carried.
Moving into part 2, the regular agenda, moved by Councillor Ken Duplessis, second by Councillor Bob Yocum. Be it resolved that council form and have representation on a subcommittee to resolve issues concerning the fire hall.
Questions or comments? Councilor Ron?
I read the report from staff and it was interesting about the not moving along quick enough. With that in mind, Your Worship, I tried for 3 years on numerous occasions to get the committee started and had to go to a formal notice of motion to actually get a committee to hold to look at the fire hall. So part of the delay was we never got a consensus of council to move ahead. Secondly, we're waiting for engineering reports to find out if we can attach to the building, use part of the building, build a new building. Can we have a walkway between? At the last meeting, we were told that information still isn't available. Having a subcommittee, I don't think would help us very much if we don't have the information. I asked for a committee to hold because I think it's a big decision on our community. I think all councillors should be involved. And if we think we're not moving fast enough, maybe the staff report telling us that we're going too slow should have come out 3 years ago. Not now.
This has been going on
This-
since 2008.
I tried to bring it up at many council meetings, Your Worship, to get a committee formed, and I could never get a consensus. until I put a formal notice of motion and a motion in to form a committee. It's not like I didn't try. We're hearing after we get a formal motion and we got a committee of whole that we should have a subcommittee because time is running out. I don't think time is running out. We can't get the answers. But I'll tell you what I said when we formed the subcommittee, or the committee of the whole, was we would meet as often as was needed. And I'm prepared to make a motion here that we meet every week, if we have to, as a committee of the whole, to get this fire hall issue going forward. But to start breaking this up into groups, I am not in favor of. I think it's a committee of the whole, it's a council decision, we owe it to the ratepayers of Espanola.
Anyone else? Councillor Bob?
Well, actually, I am in favor of the subcommittee, simply because we are moving too slow. The last meeting was this one simple little question which went on for I don't know how long, and there was still no consensus. And it was simply, are we going to consider public works requirements with the fire hall or not? And I asked twice if there was a consensus on yes or no, and there was no answer. It is moving too slow, and we are part of the problem. Yes, there is a lack of information. If we had, it's my personal opinion, since I served on both committees, that if this had been the committee of the whole, had been, approach had been taken with the OPP service proposal and the hydro sale, we'd still be spinning our wheels on it. It just moves too slow, it's too big, too cumbersome, and people are getting off track all the time. I'm sorry, and we do that all the time here, and I'm as guilty as the next guy. So really, I think it would go a lot quicker, and nothing's gonna happen without it coming to council. The committee can't make a decision, nothing. It has to bring what it has to council, but it will be faster. That's my opinion. This is be a much simpler and faster way, and we can't do much after the end of June that isn't budgeted for. And this has been going on since 2008. Thank you.
Councillor Ken?
I think shortly we'll be getting information that we can move on. Sir Ron's idea of having more meetings if we need it to do it. I don't have a problem with committee. If we go 3 or 4 meetings and we don't get anything done with the information we have, then I would say yes, maybe a subcommittee. But not right now. It was delayed. I don't know why, and I don't really care. The problem was council. We had the ability to move it ahead as we did with the notice of motion. We could have done that 2 years ago, and we didn't, so it's our fault, but I think now that's our problem to solve. I think we'll be moving very progressively in a short time, I believe.
Sure. Well, I hope so too, because I'm of the same mind. We've been spinning our wheels for a long time, and we haven't accomplished anything. We've come to the meetings, we've had about 4 meetings now of the whole. We've accomplished nothing but arguments and all kinds of stipulations and everything else. I want to ask Cynthia, is the report coming on that building soon?
Well, he was just here to do his inspection within the last few days, so I don't know, I don't have the date of when we might get that,
Okay,
but it should be soon.
should be soon. Go ahead.
If I could just add, I think the objective of the staff report and having a subcommittee was to include staff in the discussions, because we've been told, that we're not supposed to speak. So there has been a lot of information in the past 8 years, 10 years that's been accumulated, and it's been circulated to council, but it's never been discussed at our committee of the whole meetings. There's just no opportunity to review that, and there is a lot of useful information that has previously been provided. So that was part of the objective of the subcommittee.
Well, we have enough information, I believe, that we could put a size for the footprint of the building and start from there. With the other building there and without the other building there, we could do it. And just suppose for now, until we get the engineering report, that we look at the footprint that already we have plans for and size it. You want to go big, you want to go small, you want to go in between, whatever you want to do. We can start by doing those things instead of sitting around here arguing back and forth about what we're going to do next and can we hire another engineer. We've got about $85,000 wrapped up. This municipality has about $85,000 wrapped up in consulting fees and engineers looking at this, and we haven't moved yet. And I don't know why, I don't know what the reason is. If you think Espanola doesn't need a fire hall, we got a truck that's past due. And I don't like the way that's going. Councillor Ron.
Well, first of all, clarification, Your Worship, truck isn't past due yet. We have over a year and a half to get one, and we told the fire chief at the last meeting to bring us the specs. We know he was gonna get a pumper tanker. Just bring us the specs to the next committee, the whole meeting, and I think we're prepared to order that truck.
I hope so.
So we have lots of time, Your Worship, we're not past due. The other thing with the engineering, I don't think we're at 85,000. The number I saw for Perry and Perry, I think was like 25,000 or something. What we're doing is we're getting our assets checked by engineering firms as per mandated things for the whole community, all our buildings, not only the fire hall. So this would have happened irregardless of whether we needed a new fire hall or not. All we want to know is if he can give us the answers of whether we can attach to the present fire hall and add to it. And if we can't because of this post-disaster, then we have to look at a different route. And you're right, Your Worship, we can look at the footprint. But the footprint, if we can utilize the old building or put a complete new one, is going to be much different. And that's what we need. We need that engineer to sit here and tell us, yes, you can attach, no, you can't. That's all we need. And then we go right forward and we decide how many square feet we're going to add.
Because once we know the footprint, we can order
We know.
the truck.
We're going to order the truck anyway.
Yeah, but we need to know the footprint.
We're going to order the truck anyway. We have room to put the truck, even if we have to stick the old one outside with a dark.
We need to order the truck anyway, because the truck can come, we can put it out there
We can.
for tender and say, okay, let's go.
We can.
Well, Your Worship,
Yes, sir.
if you recall, back in November of 2016, we had a meeting on top of the fire hall. We asked them for pricing and specs. I mean, it didn't show up.
We asked them for,
We asked for pricing and specs of a truck, so that we could.
he's got them.
We did.
No, he's
Okay,
got them.
He got them, well, I never seen them, okay? And we also talked about the fire hall that day as well. So, I mean, we are trying. It's just,
There's been lots of conversations about the fire hall, but there's no progress.
no.
Because we don't get answers.
All right. Be it resolved that council form a representation on a subcommittee to resolve issues concerning the fire hall. All in favor? Defeated.
Okay, so I apologize, item B2 and D1 were severed, we should have dealt with those first. So item B2 was the Corporate Services Committee meeting on February 6th, 2018. B2.
Who's speaking to that?
I'll start, or I'll bring it up. I didn't see we had a bylaw that we, corporate services approved. It was the garbage bylaw. I just didn't see it in the business arising from boards and committees. It was buried in the committee report. And I thought, it's not really a consent agenda item for me. It's not a routine item, it's a very big item, and it should have been put in a regular agenda.
Go ahead.
Through you, Your Worship. That bylaw, it hasn't come, it will come to council in the B section once we were waiting to get the pricing on the tags first to finish the amendments. So the minutes of what happened at that meeting were there, but the
Okay.
actual resolution that to adopt that hasn't come because
Okay.
the committee had talked about, there was a minor amendment to the wording.
Yes, there
plus
was,
there
yes.
the price of the bag
price of
tags.
bag,
So
yeah.
we're working with Riverside on that and that'll come.
Okay, that's clarification.
Councilor Ron.
In the minutes, it said bylaw being approved with amendments.
That's
Be
right.
approved, and it was voted on and approved.
Yeah.
So if we approve the minutes, we're approving that the bylaw has been approved.
You're not adopting the minutes, you only adopt the minutes of A1 and A2. So that
No.
resolution will come separately. So the corporate services have adopted it and are recommending it come to council for adoption. That actual resolution has not come yet. It will come once we get that price of the bag tags.
Okay, good.
Anyone else? Councilor
Yeah,
Ray.
Your Worship, I'd like to make a motion to rescind the 2 clear bag But
We're
did
not
the
in the
two?
regular agenda.
Oh, we're not there yet?
Not
I'm
yet.
sorry, I thought we were. Then please continue.
Okay, so we're done with B2, Council?
Are we done?
Sorry.
With that, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And is there any other that needs to
Okay,
be
so
separated?
yes, item D1 was,
Yeah,
Gosh, foothills.
it's the health.
Health and safety.
Yeah, it's failed.
no, D1 was be it resolved that as recommended by the Corporate Services Committee, that council endorse the policy statement and request that the Joint Health and Safety Committee review the policy to ensure it reflects the most recent legislative changes.
Councilor Ray?
Yeah, I agree with this health and safety policy. This is a great thing. I would hope, though, in the future that the policy is enforced. There's sometimes things are going on here and council don't hear about it. And if you ask me what, I'll tell you, but it's just, I would like to hear about everything. If there's accidents or if there's, I don't care how minor they are, if material is being broken or taken and equipment being broken, I want to hear about all that. I think it's council's commitment to the town. So that when I'm walking down the street, somebody asks me, how come this thing was broken? I don't know anything about it. No, I don't think I like that.
Is that this?
That's the motion that's on the table.
All right. Anybody else got any comments to make? Any questions? All in favor? Carried.
Okay, so item G2, moved by Councillor Bob Yocum, seconded by Councillor Ken Duplessis. Be it resolved that there be an opportunity for residents to vote on whether to go OPP or not. This would be through a question on the ballot.
Comments or questions
Is this a notice motion
to notice?
that was put in?
It was put in, yeah.
Well, it must have been illegal because it wasn't signed.
Well, the mayor can put any items on the agenda.
That's a notice of motion.
The
It's
mayor
not- It's not,
can-
it's not a motion, it's a notice of motion.
Well, the mayor, though, has the ability.
Has he
to
got it
put
right?
in-
Because if you read our it said notice of motions
The mayor
have to be
sets the
signed.
agenda, and that was an item that he put on the agenda. He did serve it as a notice of motion, but regardless, the mayor sets the.
Yeah, I noticed, and there's also a lot of personal comments that I don't think belong on motions, but I guess they're there.
Councilor Bob?
Wasn't this deferred from earlier in the year? Earlier last year, I mean?
It was deferred, yes.
So it's already gone through the process, it's back now. So that's really all we're doing. Okay, so it's here.
Councilor Bob?
Okay, I didn't have my hand up, but that's fine.
Oh, I thought it was up. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Paul, is this notice of motion?
It is, the mayor provided a notice of motion.
A notice of
It was a
motion?
notice of motion to go onto the council agenda.
Okay,
Keeping that in mind, the mayor sets the agenda, so any motions can request that they go on the agenda.
Yes.
That was served with enough notice. Similar to the way that your notice of motion.
no, I know that, I'm just wondering, a notice of motion has to be,
No, when you serve a notice of motion ahead of time,
Yeah.
by the specific date, it goes on the agenda and it is voted on that night. Yeah. As opposed to ones that are served at the council agenda that were not set on the agenda prior.
okay, repeat that, please?
So,
I missed. Say it's a
Okay.
notice of motion?
so,
Does it have to be voted on to be a motion,
No.
in your view?
not only
Okay.
if it's served that evening,
Okay,
yes.
good enough, thank you.
Yeah.
It's me to put this on here, and I was really desiring to see the referendum, but a referendum costs an awful lot of money, so I thought that we could put a thing on the ballot, a question on the ballot to bring this forward. A lot of our people in Espanola want to see or want to have the opportunity to vote on the matter of going to OPP or not. And I think it's a question of democracy to allow them to have that choice. And we can't just ignore that Because if we ignore that, we may be ignoring it later as well. When it comes election time, it might be hard to convince people that it's okay not to listen to them. Councillor Ron.
I know what you're saying, Your Worship. You said a lot of people. Well, I've spoken to everyone that I've spoken to. I brought this question forward about putting it on a ballot. And other than a couple of people who have biased opinions because of, I don't want to say affiliations, work-related family, everyone, including members of your family, Your Worship, have come to me and told me that we have all the information that's pertinent to make a valid decision, and they would like us to make it on behalf of them, not on the ballot. Because of all the inaccuracies they've been hearing, they would like people that have the true information to make the decision. With that in mind, Your Worship, we voted to accept an offer of purchase for our hydro utility, who was not paid for by municipal taxes, but was paid for by ratepayers in the community who use the utility and who have an option of either using it or not using it through the use of their hydro. They can cut it off and still live there and not pay a cent. Yet we decided, and I asked you yourself, Your Worship, because you and I are both on the hydro utility.
For that one.
We're both on the hydro utility, and we decided that it was in the best interest. And when I started on that committee, I felt strongly about not selling the utility, but as the information came forward and readily from everyone, it changed my opinion, and I believed it was better for the community to go the route we were going, and I voted for that. With that in mind, Your Worship, I think it's only fair to the ratepayers that the people who have all the information make the decision with true facts, and that's my opinion.
Anyone else? Councillor Ray.
I also agree with Councillor Ron. See, I was talking to people and they feel adamantly about that as well. In the OPP though, if we decide for some reason to put it on there and it's a no vote that comes in, or it's a yes vote or a no vote.
It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be able to get a police costume for another 4 years. Like that's,
So what?
well, I mean,
I think
that would really do something,
What would it do?
well, to the other council.
Well, tell me what it'll do.
They wouldn't be allowed to go for another police costume, is what I'm saying.
Why not? Don't you don't think the police,
Because
the
it's-
OPP want to have us?
Yeah, it's part of the rules though. That's why not.
Part of the rules.
That's part of the rules.
Councillor Bob.
Okay, well, at the first meeting, first time this came on the agenda last year, I said then, and nothing's changed. I don't support the idea of a referendum. Council was elected to represent residents, and it's a complicated issue that can't be reduced to such a simplistic question. We make many important decisions, and I would suggest to you that we awarded a multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract to operate our water and sewage treatment systems, and safe drinking water is at least as important as policing. Not to mention we pass multi-million-dollar budgets every year without referendums. Councillor Duplessis has already, Councillor Ron has already mentioned the fact of these issues become very emotional in the community, and I've watched them unfold since 2011 in many communities, including here in the last election, and it's always divisive, and there's misinformation, misunderstanding, rumors, conjecture, and even twisting of facts. And I've watched that go on, and I've had to disprove some of these so-called facts that people were quoting. We're the only ones that are going to have the complete facts and all access to all the information, some of which unfortunately won't be able to be public in the end. There is a time limit to accept or reject the OPP proposal, and we may and probably will get the extension we've asked for, but we certainly, I don't think, would get an extension until next October waiting for a vote. No other community's done that. No other community's even asked for one. In every case, the councils have done their job and made the decisions. We're not in a popularity contest. In actual fact, one resident suggested to me that we could actually ask a different question. It would still be a yes or no. Are you in favor of spending more tax dollars for effective policing than needs to be spent? That's what somebody suggested. And the last thing was, I did some informal polling as well, and I talked to 43 residents, and I happen to know they sit on both sides of the fence in some cases, in other cases I haven't got a clue, it didn't matter. Anybody would have 1 minute to talk to me, I did. 41 people supported council making the decision, 1 was unsure, and 1 was in favor of a referendum. Thank you, Your Worship.
The Oracle poll, I know, was done, and when it came back, 482 people out of 500 wanted to have a hand in deciding who was going to go, if we were going to go OPP or if we were going to go municipal police. So take that to the bank, I guess. All right, be it resolved that there be an opportunity for residents to vote on whether to go OPP or not. This would be through a question on the ballot. All in favor? Defeated.
Okay, item G3 was a notice of motion as well. So be it resolved that effective immediately, moved by Councillor Ken Dupuy, second by Councillor Heather Malott. Be it resolved that effective immediately, council impose a hiring freeze for all new positions with the town of Espanola and replacement of existing positions be reviewed by council prior to advertising.
Questions or comments?
There's just one typo, I want to make sure it is a typo. It says potion, I guess you're
It's
talking
position.
position, right? All right.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Ken?
Well, I sent this in after I saw the budget. The budget wasn't bad, but some of the areas we can't control, like the police services, DSAB, the new labor legislation, it's all out of our hands. And there's a lot of other things that are downloading to municipal government. And I don't know if council is in favor of this or not. Actually, my motion, I believe, is incorrect because we do have a policy that new hires are approved, have to go through council. What I'm looking at is filling vacant positions, existing positions that become vacant. It may not happen very often, I don't know, but I think it's council's responsibility to be involved with that. I don't necessarily believe in a quota. I will also, I would amend that motion, depending on how council feels, to exclude firefighters. I don't think firefighters should be included in that.
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
Anyone else?
Would you like to amend it?
I'd suggest you amend it, yeah.
So a person hired by council, who would be the authority over that person?
No, this review comes to council before to approve hiring or not. Not
To approve the hiring?
Yeah, if staff came to us, I believe that's what Councilor Ken is saying, if staff recommends we fill a position, they would come to council to say, is it okay or not? Not to hire the person, approve the hiring of a person.
So who does the employee answer to?
No, he'll still be hired by and answer to whatever department he's in.
You'll get the odd guy that will say,
No,
council hired me, I don't have to
No,
listen to you.
council doesn't hire, they approve it. They approve the hiring, they don't hire.
Perhaps I'll change some of this, Paul.
Okay,
You mind?
yes, just initial whatever is changed.
Okay.
Need a massage?
Oh, something. Crack it.
Was that your neck?
Yeah.
Ouch. Thought it was a pin.
Feels like a pen. Stop.
Ducey, second by Councillor Heather Lamont. Be it resolved that effective immediately, council will review the replacement of existing positions that become vacant, excluding volunteer firefighters.
All in favor? Carried.
So, item G4, moved by Ken Ducey, Councillor Ken Ducey, second by Councillor Heather Malott. Be it resolved that whereas Bill 160, the Strengthening Quality and Accountability for Patients Act, amended the Ambulance Act to permit the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care to enable 2 pilot projects hosted by willing municipal governments to allow firefighters certified as paramedics to treat patients while on duty with the fire department, and whereas the Government of Ontario is committed to proceeding with the pilots and enabling the fire medic model despite the absence of objective evidence to show that it would improve patient outcomes or response times, and whereas the current interest arbitration model, particularly in the fire services sector, allows arbitrators to impose awards on unwilling employers that directly impact the employer's ability to determine how it will deploy its workforce, as evidenced by the experience of many municipalities in regards to the 24-hour shift, and whereas in the absence of legislative protection, unwilling municipalities may be forced to enter into a pilot or adopt a fire medic model as a result of interest arbitration, and whereas the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and its municipal members have called on the Government of Ontario to introduce legislative amendments to the Fire Protection and Prevention Act 1997 and the Ambulance Services Collective Bargaining Act to preclude arbitrators from expanding the scope of work for firefighters and paramedics respectively through interest arbitration awards, and whereas there is precedent for a restriction on the scope of jurisdiction of arbitrators in Section 126 of the Police Services Act, which precludes arbitrators from amending the core duties of police officers, and whereas the Government of Ontario has committed that no unwilling municipal government will have a fire medic pilot or program imposed upon them, now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Espanola calls on the Government of Ontario to act immediately so that legislative amendments that will protect unwilling municipalities from being forced by arbitrators to have a fire medic pilot or program are placed within the upcoming budget bill before the Ontario legislature rises for the provincial election. 2, a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Premier Kathleen Wynne, Office of the Premier, the Honourable Dr. Eric Hoskins, Minister of Health and Long-Term Care, Honourable Marie-France Lalonde, Minister of Community Safety and Correctional Services, Honourable Kevin Flynn, Minister of Labour, Honourable Bill Morrow, Minister of Municipal Affairs, Carol Hughes, MP for Algoma, Manitoulin and Kapuskasing, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario.
Someone going to speak to this?
Could you read it again?
Yeah, real fast. Three times real fast. Where's your name?
Councillor I'm sorry, Councillor
I fully support that we support this resolution. The interest arbitration model, as we know in Ontario, does not work, and it has harmful effects on every municipality, and this could hurt many municipalities, although probably not our own. It doesn't matter. We need to, they set a precedent if they get away with changing the core duties of firemen and paramedics. So I mean, I fully support the resolution.
I think your worship.
when you say changing core duties of firefighters, what do you?
They're turning them into paramedics if they happen to be a paramedic and responding with fire trucks.
Okay. Councillor Ron.
Small municipalities like ours, and there's many in the province of Ontario, would virtually be bankrupt at these costs. You'd have to have full-time firefighters, trained paramedics. The wages for a paramedic are like $35, $40 an hour. At small municipalities, you'd have no more volunteers. You couldn't, like, who would volunteer, take all that training for what they get? It just, it's not realistic, your worship.
Anyone else? All in favor? Carried.
Item G5, moved by Councillor Heather Malott, second by Councillor Ron Duplessis. Be it resolved that Council for the Town of Espanola supports the Town of Lakeshore's resolution number 577-01-2018 regarding marijuana tax revenues.
Oh, anybody want to talk about that one?
We're not gonna make any revenues, I hear most people are gonna grow their own floor plants, your worship.
Wrong.
Councillor
Pick 'em
Bob.
up. Yeah, I actually asked to put that, be put on, the rest, to support the other communities, because, this is brand new revenue that both governments are gonna get. I don't expect anything to come of it, but why not ask? Draw it to their attention, make a little bit of noise. I know AMO is on it as well. So I don't see any reason that, it's just, I know it's one of those fluffy things, but what the heck, it's worth a try.
Councillor
The
Ron.
federal government is anticipating making over $1 billion a year
For sure.
on taxes.
For sure,
So
guaranteed.
how they're gonna share it with municipalities, I don't think I've seen a formula. There's been discussions between the province and whatever of how they're sharing it, but I haven't seen an actual formula. It has reduced, the last one I saw, where they're gonna give more to municipalities.
Anyone else? All in favor? Carried.
Item G6, moved by Councillor Ken Dupussy, second by Councillor Heather Mawar. Be it resolved that Council for the Town of Espanola supports the Manitoulin Sudbury District Social Services Board Resolution Number 18-11 regarding consistent monitoring of the nutritious food basket and local housing costs.
Questions or comments? Councillor Bob.
It's to be me again, eh? Tired of it. Since I was sitting on the non-profit housing board, when they forced us, literally, without any evidence-based review, to raise the rents by I forget how much percent.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, now they've decided they're gonna do things with, what's the word, evidence-based, before they go into, for housing costs and stuff. So obviously, I'm gonna support this after what we went through with them last time. So I'd hope council would as well. They're finally gonna not be making arbitrary decisions with no, even though they're presented with contrary evidence.
Great. Councillor Ron.
I just have a question for Councillor Bob. I was on the committee at the time when we were fighting this, and they were using evidence in large areas where they had comparatives, and they fell under the criteria of the CHMC. But because we didn't, we weren't entitled to use any criteria. I don't know if when they're saying evidence-based here, if all of a sudden they are gonna allow the small municipalities that aren't covered under that criteria, and I don't know if Councillor Bob.
I read it as local. I read it, they're gonna actually use local evidence base.
Well, I hope they do this time, because they.
At least it gives us something to fight them with if they try it again. Yeah, actually, they used Ottawa to try and to raise our rents. They used Ottawa rents. It's true.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay.
Oh, your worship, I was going to bring up about the motion we had passed back in May and rescind that, or put a new motion out that we go back to the old garbage collection bylaw and eliminate the one we passed about the 2 clear bags, but I heard Councillor Dufour bring it up earlier, and I think he just forgot.
Go ahead.
He had brought it up in the wrong section, so I'll let him go ahead with it. He had brought it up, and he was in the wrong section at the time, and I think he
Okay.
forgot now.
He was doing fine. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to rescind,
Notice the motion first.
No, no, Mr. Motion.
notice of motion to rescind the 2 clear garbage bag bylaw.
And go back to the original.
Yes. At least until the Ontario government can put forth a comprehensive plan to address all the needs of the people, including, but not limited to, proper education and oversight. This would promote a successful transition, I believe. And I don't think this is going to help anybody right now. I don't want to tell our people they have only 2 garbage bags they can use to put half of their plastics in, and then, you know, so,
I don't have any more.
you don't have any
Okay,
more?
so it's okay, we can just write on the back something for him.
Yeah, you're gonna
And
print it.
just, if, do you want it heard tonight?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
okay, so you'll have to just write it, and then a mover.
What would it be?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So
And
mover,
a second.
seconder, and then write it out, and then
Okay.
How is the best way to work with the policy, so we rescind that 2 clear, the original.
rescind the, it's only a resolution, we don't have a bylaw, so rescind the resolution
To go to.
to go to 2 clear bags effective May 1st.
Then we have to pass a motion.
Yeah, so that's gotta be the notice motion, they don't have to pass the motions.
Fair to anybody? I wish somebody would have said, I'll second that, because by not saying that, I could have wrote this out for nothing.
So the notice motion is moved by Councilor Ray Dufour, seconded by Councilor Ron Ducey, to a notice motion to rescind the 2 clear bag,
Garbage bag.
can I put the,
Whatever you need.
a motion to rescind the 2 clear,
Garbage, at the
the
top.
resolution, rescind the resolution. To
Okay,
go to 2 clear bags
Okay.
effective May 1st and revert back to the 4 dark bags.
Yes.
That's what you're looking for?
yes.
Now you need to write our motion.
I'll get you to initial this after, but.
Okay,
Okay, so moved by Councilor Ray Dufour, second by Councilor Ron Ducey, a notice of motion to rescind the resolution to go to 2 clear garbage bags effective May 1st and revert back to the 4 dark bags.
To the 4.
Dark
To the
bags.
original bylaw.
And there's no debate. Everybody just has to vote on it. If they vote on this, then we hear the resolution.
Okay. I hate going backwards. And I
There's no
think,
debate, you could just vote on it.
You need to
It's
call
It's a
the vote.
notice of motion, you need to
Okay.
call a vote.
all in favor? 4, 2, no.
I don't think it was a recorded vote, your worship.
I just recorded it out of my,
oh,
I just wanted to know who did.
Can you sign it? Just there, and then I'm just gonna write the next motion.
So I'm
after
gonna
you
sign
vote.
it.
Yeah. So, Councilor Dufour, I'll just get you to initial that, because
Okay.
that's,
Okay.
and then we need, and Councilor
Right
Ducey,
here?
and then we need to move her in a second for the
Yeah,
next.
you have to leave a second.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, so moved by Councilor Ray Dufour, second by Councilor Ron Ducey, be it resolved that council rescind the resolution to go to 2 clear bags effective May 1st and revert back to 4 dark bags. So,
You can see.
you know, we can discuss it if they want.
Questions or comments? Councilor Bob?
I'd like to just suggest that we defer this until the garbage bylaw is in front of us, so we have the whole thing. It's make more sense to me to have the whole garbage bylaw in front of us. Otherwise, what are we gonna do with the new garbage bylaw? There's probably hundreds of hours of effort into preparing it. Corporate Services has had it 3 or 4 times, and they've been satisfied with it, or I assume they have, because they've sent it to council, but we don't have it yet. So my suggestion is that we defer this until we have the garbage bylaw in front of us.
I agree. Anybody else got questions or comments?
Once you agree, I think he's asking,
We're not deferring.
yeah.
We're voting on the motion here.
We're voting on the
But
motion.
first, we have to debate.
And recorded vote.
We can defer the motion.
Okay?
We can defer the motion, can we not?
I thought we could too, but,
We can defer.
You can defer.
Yeah, we can
The
defer,
motion
sure.
on the table is that we move.
I'm saying to
that
use,
it be rescinded. However, council can,
Once-
vote
Vote
to
to
defer.
defer, you have to
To
vote.
defer this motion.
Right,
That's
but
right.
only once that motion is.
No,
No.
he can
Or
vote to
just
defer
prior
now.
to it?
just,
Is that what
just
you
all I'm
want?
suggesting is defer the motion until we have the garbage bylaw on the table. That would be logical to me, is to wait till we have a garbage bylaw to look at before we try changing it.
Well, I've seen it a long time ago, so.
okay, recorded vote.
Well,
Nope.
first, we can debate. Any questions or comments?
How many times do I?
Well, Bob had wanted to
All right,
defer.
questions or comments?
The reason I'm in favor of this, Your Worship, is because we looked at it at Corporate Services. I've talked to many residents in town, I haven't found too many. 3 of us, Councillor Heather and Ray, we went out and looked at the recycling plant. We talked to the owner-operator of the system. We've heard stuff from Stewardship Ontario. Stewardship Ontario is hoping to get 70 to 75%, if I'm not mistaken, out of the waste stream within 2 to 3 years. From what our collector tells us, we are the best in the whole area that he collects from, including eastern Sault Ste. Marie. We're at 88%. The rest of the province is hoping to get to 70 or 75. I don't see why we're in such a hurry to go and force our residents to do. I am not in favor of saying, no, don't recycle. I want to encourage people to recycle, continue educating recycling. But I don't think I want to push them to try to get from 88 to 100% when we're hoping to get the rest of the province at 70. I don't see the tail wagging the dog in this business. So that's why I'm opposed to it, Your Worship, and I have been since the beginning.
Anyone else? Counselor Kent?
Subject's been very controversial. I believe for me, I've never had so many residents talk to me about a subject that I thought was very important for the town. As Ron said, with the facts, the stats are there, or whatever you believe in the Oracle poll. It was very confusing. The staff did a great job in terms of education about how much went out, but it just didn't reach the people, and that's where the confusion came in. I didn't have I was chairing the corporate service, so I didn't throw too many opinions in. I did wanted to put it in abeyance to hold, but either way, the information is all there, so when they finally decide what they're going to do, and there's still a battle in Stewardship Ontario, what's going where, who's doing what, until it comes to that point, we'll have all that information and we can quickly, if they come up with some rules or regulations that we have to follow, we can quickly put them in place.
Anyone else? All in favor?
If I may just make a comment about
Yes.
the garbage bylaw. So the garbage bylaw that we currently have is from the 60s. So that bylaw needs to be revised regardless of whether we have 2 bags or 4 bags, and that will be coming to council. If just the provisions for 2 bags will say 4 bags or whatever council wishes, but that bylaw still needs to be revised and will still come forward,
Yeah.
just so you're aware.
Sure.
When we go to 4 bags, is there going to be an extra cost?
No, we are at 4 bags.
We are.
Well, we are.
Just do a change.
And I'm not opposed to maybe even reducing them, Your Worship.
We're not opposed.
Because people are recycling, doing a very good job in our
Yeah, we're
town.
gonna do.
And we might be able to go from 4 to 3 to 2.
put a sign on, so you have to use a black garbage bag now.
No, we don't have them, Your Worship. People already have them in
Point of
in
order,
great
please.
I was
numbers.
just curious.
Pardon, Lord, that's not on, that's off the table. We're not talking about this now. It's finished.
Oh, yeah, but I wanted to.
You have
Before the
to,
vote.
motion is for that.
All right. Anything else? All right, correspondence for information only. We don't have any at this time. This information was previously circulated to council, and if required, a copy of the information available at the municipal office. Conferences and conventions, there are none. Mayor and councilor reports and announcements, verbal. Councilor Bob.
Just the one thing at the carnival weekend, of course, we have to recognize and congratulate all the volunteers and service organizations that put on so many events, especially the Boogie Mountain group who had that place busy all weekend long. It was a good carnival weekend, and especially nice that this year the weather cooperated, unlike other years. Thank you, Your Worship.
I'm good.
You're good?
Just a couple of things. I'd like to say the same things Bob did about Carnival. I haven't heard one negative comment in our community. And I know I took part of the nice Columbus Spaghetti Elimination Supper and whole bit there. And I must say, there's some nice, and they're not getting younger, some of those people, Your Worship, and they put in a tremendous amount of hours. And our councillor Bob is one of those. The other thing, I was listening to Mr. Bryn Morneau talk a little bit today, hinting at things in the federal budget that's coming out in 2 weeks. Looking at infrastructure, I'm hoping that there might be a tripart thing that may help us get our grants for our infrastructure with Highway 6 or whatever. We're not sure what's going to be in there. The other thing I had, Your Worship, was it happened at our community service, which was unfortunate, committee of the whole, pardon me. Back in November, there was an incident that happened, and it was brought up again at the regular meeting here 2 weeks ago, and you said at that time you were going to interview some people who were here to get the right statements. Well, I was contacted by 2 people in the community that weren't here 2 weeks ago, and they would like that if you would also question them. 2 of our lifelong residents, highly respected in the community, 2 retired educators, Mrs. Diane Arbor Ellis and Mr. Richard Ellis. He said I was welcome to pass those names on to you if you'd like to question them. You remember the events quite well. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Ken?
I'll echo the sentiments of councillors in terms of the amount of work the volunteers do in this town. If we didn't have those, nothing would happen, or a little less would happen. Thank you.
You're exactly right. I attended 2 things over the couple of days, and one of them was the ski hill, and that ski hill was packed from top to bottom. It was just marvelous to see how it's operating. I remember a couple of years ago when we used to have to give them funding, and they got all kinds of things there to do that they don't even need snow. Like they can operate these big airlifts and all this kind of stuff. It's just marvelous. But there was lots of people there. Lots of young children were there, and that was amazing. I see these little people skiing down that ski hill at something like 80 miles an hour, and I'm thinking, drunk I wouldn't come down there.
You may.
No, because I wouldn't get up there. And the Lions Senior Dinner, which the Lions put on every year, was a great success. There was, I'm pretty sure, over 200 people attended. And Mantha was there, and the other lady, I guess I don't go.
Carol Hughes.
Carol Hughes.
Carol Hughes, that's the one. And the Snowflake Luncheon was a success as well. And it was just a marvelous thing to see all the volunteers pulling together, working together, stationed. They worked like crazy to get everything organized and done. You couldn't find a parking spot at that ski hill for nothing because you had to park out on the main road. That's how well attended it was. So it was a great time. Future council meetings. Oh, I got everybody. Yeah.
Yep.
Future council meetings. Council budget meeting of February 20th, 2018 at 9 a.m. Community Services Committee meeting of February 20th, 2018 at 3 p.m. Regular meeting of council of February 27th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. Policing options, public consultation, April 19th, 2017 at 7 PM, Espanola Legion Hall. And with
Information,
that-
Your Honor?
Pardon?
Information? Are we missing the committee of the whole meeting on
Yes,
27th?
yes, we are.
Or
It's there.
No, it's not.
It's not there?
We are having it, but it's not on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
It's at
Right.
6:30 on the 27th. And can I add that
Oh.
the policing options public consultation, that's a tentative date? We're just
Tentative.
confirming.
You'll send us an email then?
Yes,
Okay.
and it will be
Your
advertised.
worship? Yeah, another one there.
Just with regards to the committee of the whole meeting, I think we might have to move the times around. We also have a special meeting that night. Ministry of Housing is coming to give us a presentation along with PSAP. So
Okay.
it'll be a busy night.
Okay. All right, this meeting is now adjourned. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to make a clarification if I could. The public policing options, it was last year on here.
17?
Yeah.
Good one.
What you think of it?
Good question.
This meeting is now adjourned. All in favor?
You know, Your worship, we'd like to go to that seniors one too.